Introduction. You're in the Gulf of Mexico. It's 3 a.m. You're lying on a bunk in a ship that smells of wet rubber staring at the ceiling. The ship's hull is creaking. The water level is 340 feet. Somewhere beneath the sea, a pipeline has ruptured. You know this because it's your job. In 6 hours, you'll climb into a massive steel chamber, breathe in a gas mixture that sounds like a cartoon character, and weld metal in total darkness under pressure, high enough to burst an untrained person's lungs in seconds. Your hands are already calloused. Your knees are already aching. You're 34, but you feel like you're 50. This year, you've made more money than most people make in 5 years. And you haven't held your daughter in your arms for 11 weeks. You're not thinking about that right now. You close your eyes, you take a breath. In 6 hours, the alarm will go off. Level 1, Surface Welder. You're 19 years old, standing in front of a welding booth in Louisiana, and your instructor just told you there's a problem with the pipe weld. It's the third time this week. The weld bead is uneven. There are gaps. The instructor says, if gas had passed through that pipe, someone would have lost their life. You nod. You try to sand and fix the weld. For the next 2 years, this will be your entire life. You're learning what goes wrong while welding. The light is 10,000 times brighter than the sun, and if you stand right in front of it for 6 hours a day, you'll learn to love it. You're making $18 an hour at a manufacturing plant outside Houston. It's 40 degrees. You don't complain. You've learned about saturation divers who make $1,500 a day. You've watched videos, you've done the math, you know exactly what it takes to get there. What you don't know yet is the cost. One evening, a man at the shipyard tells you he dived for 8 years, made good money, and then contracted decompression sickness on a job in the North Sea. His knees are bent. He has nerve damage in his right arm. He can't dive anymore. He's 31 years old. You think about this for a week, but you still apply to the diving school. Level 2, diving school. Exactly 6 months. It costs you $15,000 in every hour you sleep. The school is outside Houston. There are 22 of you in the first week. By the third week, only 6 remain. They didn't fail. They just chose to quit. Their lockers are empty, no explanation given. This world doesn't celebrate those who leave. The pool is 12 feet deep. This means you have to dive underwater wearing a full-face helmet fed from the surface, dragging an umbilical cord behind you, while an instructor tells you over the radio that your breathing is wrong, your hands are shaking, and you have 30 seconds to fix all 3. Your first weld looks like a child's pastel drawing. The instructor writes a single word on your evaluation form, must repeat. You try again and again. 6 months later, even if you're not great, you've earned your certification. You're 21 years old with $800 in your bank account and a card that says Commercial Diver. You're ready for the toughest job of your career. Level 3, Tender. Your first job at sea. You're flying to a platform in the Gulf of Mexico, and the foreman looks you in the eye and says, "You'll be the tender." You nod. You already knew that. A tender doesn't dive. He manages the umbilical, the cable that connects the diver to the surface. The air flows through that cable. Communication flows through that cable. If you lose the cable, you lose the diver. That's it. That's the whole job, and it's always terrifying. You can't see the diver. You can only feel the cable. You learn to read it, how the cable moves when the diver changes position, what tension means, what slack means. You learn what silence means in communication. In the afternoon, a diver surfaces and you misdirect the umbilical. The cable gets tangled. 3 seconds. The supervisor doesn't yell. He just says quietly, "That guy's breathing because you handled that cable right. Never do that again." You become more careful. You have to be. You're making $320 a day. You'll miss Thanksgiving, your sister's graduation, the birthday party your friends threw without you. You tell yourself it's temporary. You're right, but you'll keep telling yourself that for another 2 years. Level 4, In-Water Diver-Welder. Your first real dive. A river in Alabama. 5 a.m., water temperature 4 degrees, 0 visibility. Bridge pier inspection, 35 feet deep. Your partner is a man named Marcus. He's been doing this for 11 years and moves as if he's never been in a hurry. He hands you the helmet, checks all the connections, and says without looking at you, "Tell me your name." You say your name. Marcus gives the instruction. "If you hear my voice, come up. Don't ask questions. Tell me your name again." You say your name. He shakes his head. You dive into the water. The cold seeps through your suit and into your bones. 0 visibility. You work by touch. One hand on the structure, the other on the tool. Your breathing quickens. Marcus says over the radio, "Slow down." You slow down. You find the weld joint with your fingers. You strike the arc. The weld holds. You surface. Marcus checks your connections before taking off his helmet. He says, "Not bad." You've been underwater for 18 minutes and your hands are shaking. You sit on the diving platform, look at the river, and say nothing. You earn $52,000 a year. Bridges, dams, ports. You dive on all of them. By the end of your second year, you've logged 600 dive hours and are ready to head out to the open sea. But your body doesn't yet know what the open sea means. Level 5. Open water Diver-Welder. January in the North Sea. Water temperature 8 degrees, 220 feet. Pipeline repair. Welding on a hyperbaric living module. 8-hour dive duration. At 220 feet, nitrogen narcosis sets in. Your thoughts slow down as if you were typing in the dark. You double-check every step. At this depth, a mistake isn't just an inconvenience. You know what it means. The welding takes 4 hours. The shelter is a dry steel enclosure crammed around the pipeline on the seabed. You spend 4 hours crouched over a 12-inch pipe joint welding, and when you surface, your entire right side is as stiff as a fist. Currently, $85,000 a year. The depth premium is added to that. $2 for every foot above 100 feet. At 220 feet deep, that's an extra $240 per dive. The math works out. The shift is 28 days on, 28 days off. You spend half the year at home, which sounds like a lot, until you sit down and count what you've actually missed during that half year. Your girlfriend says the problem isn't with the schedule. She says it's not quite there when you get home either. You think about this in the dark at 220 feet deep. Then you set it aside and finish the shift. Level 6. Dive Supervisor. You're 31 years old. You have 3,200 logged dive hours. The Gulf, the North Sea, West Africa. You've had decompression sickness once. Mild DCS, right shoulder, 6 hours in the hyperbaric chamber. You return to work 4 days later. Now, whenever the pressure drops, your shoulder feels it. It's both a weather forecast and a warning. The company offers you the position of dive supervisor. You accept. Now you stay on the surface and send others down. You plan every dive. If a problem arises at depth, you make the decision. Bring him up and risk DCS, or keep him down and risk the bottom time running out. You make this decision in seconds with incomplete information, over the radio with a man gasping for breath. One morning, a 24-year-old diver named Connor goes down for a routine inspection. His breathing is fine. Communication is clear. Then a long pause. His breathing rate doubles. You call his name. No answer. You call the backup team. You count to 3. He responds in a panic. You place your hand on the assistant's shoulder. You say calmly, "Bring him up immediately." He comes up. He's okay. The mask seal was compromised. No lasting issues. He sits on the platform for 20 minutes without moving. You write this in the incident report. Equipment failure, diver's response appropriate. You don't write this. I held my breath for 4 minutes. Level 7, Saturation Diver. You're 34 years old now. This is where we started. Saturation diving isn't a job. It's a biological condition. You live in a pressurized steel chamber at working depth, eating, sleeping, and showering inside, for up to 28 days. When the bell is ready, you descend to the seafloor. You work. You return. You don't return to surface pressure until the end of your rotation. Decompression alone takes 4 to 7 days. If it's too fast, you die. The gas mixture makes your voice sound like a cartoon character. You'll laugh at it for 2 days, then forget about it. The only thing you won't forget is the depth. At 400 feet, the water is pitch black. Your light reaches only 6 feet in every direction. You follow the procedure. Step 1, Step 2, Step 3. There's no improvising at 400 feet. The daily rate for a saturation dive is $1,200. A 28-day rotation comes to $33,600, excluding the depth allowance. Some years you make $280,000. Your daughter is 7 years old. She asks when you'll come home. You say Thursday. She asks, which Thursday? You don't answer. She's 7, but she knows you won't be coming. Your shoulders ache in the cold. Your back holds a story for every depth. You're 34 and your body keeps a ledger. But when the bell sinks to the seafloor and your boots touch the seabed 400 feet below the North Sea, such profound silence descends that it feels as though the world has fallen silent just for you. No traffic, no phones, just your own breath and 400 feet of water above your head. You're the only person within a 400-foot radius in every direction, completely alone, completely alive. You finish the weld. The inspector says, "The weld looks good." You reply, "Got it." Level 8, Saturation Dive Supervisor. You're 42 years old. Your diving days are behind you. It's not just one reason. It's due to a buildup of issues. Your knee failed the medical exam. There's a history of too many decompression sickness incidents in the joint. You're only deemed fit for surface duties. You hold that paper in your hand for a long time. Then you fold it. Now you oversee the entire saturation system. Every diver in that room is your responsibility, from lockout to decompression. You've descended to depths most people aren't even aware exist. On the communication line, you can pick up on things a younger supervisor might miss. You've seen 11 divers get decompression sickness. 1. Paul, North Sea, 2019, is 38 years old with nerve damage in both legs. He says he has no regrets. You believe him because you'd say the same thing. A new diver is coming. He's 23. Clean hands, big eyes. He asks how soon he can go to the SAT. You look at him the way others once looked at you. You say, it depends on how fast you learn. He nods. You don't mention his knee. You don't mention Paul. You say, start with the umbilical. Learn to feel the diver through the line. Everything else will follow. He gets to work. You return to your desk. There's a dive plan to approve. There's always a dive plan to approve. Final. Somewhere. Right now, a 19-year-old is sanding down a failed piece of wood and starting over. He's done the math on the deep dive. He doesn't yet know about the rotation, the shoulder, or which Thursday it is. He doesn't know how much this will cost. All he knows is that he wants to be part of this. He gets to work just like you, and the cycle continues. If you'd like to learn more about dangerous and challenging professions like this, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.